life is short. Let's do this one really well. You go to bed, you lay your head in your pillow, and you say, you know what? I did okay today. I did okay today. Or maybe I did really good today. Okay. And you try your best tomorrow, and with no heavy hand. And that is victory.
Hey everybody, I'm Lori Schulweiss.
And I'm Jen Giammo.
And welcome to another episode of Everybody Talks, the podcast where we explore the wide world of wellness. Sometimes we talk to experts, sometimes we just talk to each other, but we're always talking to you.
Every week we discuss topics from nutrition and exercise to mindfulness and self-care. And today we are learning all about what it means to be heliotropic.
And how to be the sun. So let's get started. He is a psychologist, executive coach, restaurateur, and author. He did his undergraduate work at Cornell and his PhD in psychology at the University of Michigan. In 2010, he wrote his first book, Secrets of the Obvious, which is a guidebook for balanced living in an open, honest, no-nonsense format.
In 2015, he gave a TEDx talk that outlined the concept of heliotropic leadership, which we're going to talk about today, the scientific understanding that all living systems are drawn towards life-sustaining energy, including our own. The principles discussed in the TEDx talk were so well received that he was inspired to write his latest book, Be the Sun, Not the Salt, which I also listened to. I'm stalking you, Dr. Cohen, as well as his recently launched podcast of the same name.
His work on the principle of heliotropic leadership, which we're going to define what that is, I had to look it up in a dictionary, by the way, focuses on how the intentional practice of gratitude, compassion, and forgiveness can not only uplift oneself, but anyone who comes into contact with such a leader. Please welcome our guest today to Everybody Talks, Dr. Harry Cohen. Welcome to Everybody Talks, Dr. Cohen. Or Harry, I guess we can call you Harry.
Yes, you can call me Harry. It's so fun to do this for a living. And that at this age and stage of my life that I get to do this. And I keep finding, we were chatting briefly before the show started, I keep finding every single day new ways to both understand and practice this for myself and to articulate it and talk about it so that others can get it. And it's so cool when someone who has either read the book or watched my TED Talk, you guys get it, or you wouldn't have said, hey, let's get this guy on. Isn't it crispy, cool, and fun?
I love it.
I
love the concept.
I do like the concept too, and I think that I practice some things and don't practice others. But why don't we start with you, and why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, how you landed here, and how you got to this place?
So I'll give you take 2 minutes. Life story. Born only son, middle-class family, 2 older sisters, Buffalo, New York. My father was a businessman. He made Royal Crown Cola in Buffalo, New York. I drove a pop truck, and he wanted me to go in the business. I didn't want to go in the business. I wanted to be a doctor. Went to Cornell to become a doctor. I was pre-med until organic chemistry made that clear. You're not going to be that kind of doctor. Then I worked in a mental health facility for a year and went back to school. Got my degree in psychology. Then went to graduate school to get a social work degree and then a PhD in psychology. Met my wife, and now have been I practiced family therapy for many years, and then did executive coaching, training, teaching, motivational speaking, and then opened this restaurant right after the financial crisis. That was fun. We had twin boys. They're now 33 years old, married 44 years, and discovered many years ago that this idea, this heliotropic thing, is a real principle. And it described my life's work like, oh my God, there's some science behind this, which is the focus on people who are virtuous and kind and uplifting and compassionate. What is it about them that makes them so successful? And it turns out the science shows that people who are virtuous in all these different ways, human beings, are what they call positive energizers. And the effect of that on themselves and others is remarkable. So the expression heliotropic means like the sun on the leaves of the plant is drawn to that positive energy of the sun, and people are drawn to positive energizers, other people who are kind and nice and dependable and all these other virtues. And just as importantly, when we are negative energizers, when we are our worst selves, nasty, unkind, snarky, cynical, sarcastic. It's like the roots of the plant shrivel up. So my gift to the world is this science has already discovered. My offering is the simplicity of the metaphor. Be the sun and not the salt. Be uplifting and kind as best you can, more than you already are, and less salty on other people's roots. That's it. Having discovered that, my life's work now is to practice that, teach that, talk that, spread that, so that the world is a better place. If we can plant an orchard that our grandchildren will be harvesting those apples and the seeds of what we're talking about, imagine. It's been working for me and all of my clients and anyone I've ever worked with. Oh my God, you helped me so much. How so? I was a good listener. I was kind. I gave some good counsel. And therefore, that continues. This is ancient wisdom and social science, so that anybody and everybody, we already do this. All we got to do is do it some more.
Yeah. It is so simple, but
It
yet,
I know.
you do come into contact with those people, you call negative energizers.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I guess just tell us a little bit more about like some of the defining characteristics of people who are heliotropic.
So the defining characteristics of people who are heliotropic, they express the virtues that universally other human beings are drawn to. So let's just name a few of them. These are not an exhaustive list, but when people are dependable, when people are grateful, when people are compassionate, when people are authentic, when people are vulnerable, when people are curious and generous. Those are just some of the virtues that have been studied to say, yeah, I really like him or her. Why is that? Well, they show up on time, they mean what they say, and they don't say it mean. Isn't that lovely? Yes. And those are the qualities that define what it means to be heliotropic. If you think of virtuous people, people who you'd want your children to marry, or you'd want your children to become, or we ourselves want to be. We want to be good people. Well, what does that mean? Just define what a good person is and who do you want in your company or your family. And you go, well, somebody who, and then fill in the blank, who doesn't lie, cheat, and steal, who goes the extra mile, who gives so much extra to others that you go, my God, they're so extra sensitive and courteous and considerate and compassionate. I'm inspired by them. That's what we want to both be like and be around, because they're contagious. I heard a story this morning of I work for a company that bought me. They literally bought the IP for this because they want to spread this to their 10,000 employees and the world. And they reward these 1% people, they call them partners of the year. They're all partners. The partners of the year are people who are like, whoa, amazing. And I was talking to this one fellow in the UK, and I said, who won partner of the year? And it was this fellow who worked for a man who had a tragedy in his life. And this fellow took over and was so empathetic and compassionate and stepped up that made everyone around this person feel like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. Those are the qualities that inspire us. When you read about them or hear about them, you go, wow, I want to be that. And those qualities are not Mother Teresa only. They're you and I. They're being just sweet when we smile and hold the door, or in a customer service setting. Will Guidara talks about unreasonable hospitality. When people are hospitable and go the extra mile, and they don't talk too much. Like I'm worried that I'm talking too much right now.
No, you're
talking
not.
too much
You're
at all.
not.
I want to say that when I read your book, and I told this to my boyfriend as well, he is the person that kept coming up in my mind as I read those words. I'm like, he is all of those things that you just mentioned. And there are stories upon stories that I'm still, learning and hearing that I'm like, oh, I never heard that story before. You did that? That's amazing. And he's that kind of, I think you could say the same.
But I didn't come to mind.
Less so. No, you did too. But sort of that, I'm around him all the time, and I just think
that is true of him.
I always say to him, like, how do you have the patient. Like that's where I
Yeah.
get like
Yeah.
I get frustrated because I lose my patience, right?
Yeah.
But
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like the things that you've mentioned are not hard. They don't cost money. They don't take anything away from yourself. And yet, why are these things so hard to do?
Okay, so let me answer this so that all of our listeners can get it. Because we're human beings, and living really, really beautifully well is sometimes effortful. And sometimes we human beings take the easy route and say, I don't feel like picking up that piece of litter, or I don't feel like doing the dishes, or I don't feel like saying the kind word. And for several reasons. Now, not an excuse, but to answer your question, culture can be a huge impact, both the culture you grew up in and the culture you're around. You can be reinforced so you don't know any better. You can be thinking that it's okay, so people get into bad habits of all kinds. And just as important as good habits are bad habits. So there's a lot of forces, both in the environment, your family, media, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that reinforce the negative. And so to counteract that, let's use any other metaphor. Why is it so hard for people to eat well and exercise? It's the same thing. We all know what it means to eat well and exercise. And yet, why is it so hard? Well, do what you can. Do a little bit more. Go for the walk, right? Don't say yes to the extra piece of chocolate cake. Just say, I'll have a bite. I'll have a taste. And it is hard for lots of reasons, internal and external. There are forces external that make us want to be salty, and there's forces internal that make us want to be impatient. That's okay. If you understand that, you go, it's a noble journey. If I can be 1% more patient, victory. And that's my wish and hope for everybody. 1%. This is the James Clear Atomic Habits stuff.
Yeah.
1% more heliotropic, 1% less salty. That's our mission. And all of our, why is it so hard? Because inertia, it's hard to be good. It's hard to be kind. It's hard to be compassionate. And it's also easy to be compassionate and easy to be kind. It's so sweet that you said that to him. Credit to you, because you could just say, well, I probably should tell him more. Well, you do. You did. You made it public. Good for you. Tell him again. I'm just learning how to write thank you notes. You'd think I should already know that. Bad habit. But now I'm learning to do that. I got another beauty that I just learned this year. I do it every day. Is there anything you need for me to do for you today? Now, how easy is that? Well, I never did it before. Now that I do that, now it's a good habit. Now it's a little ritual. And when I don't do it, I thought, I make my bed, I drink my 16 ounces of water. No, I never used to make my bed. I never used to drink the water. And I never used to say, is there anything you need for me to do for you today? I also do this new thing, which is every single day, I wrote the damn book. Since the first of the year, I read the chapter based on the day of the month to reflect just for one sentence. Today is don't hang with cilantro. And I had to think about what that would mean. No, today is learn to walk away. It's the 11th. And I said, I don't hang with people that I need to walk away from, but I'm going to walk away from my own negative self-talk today when I make a mistake. I'm just trying to make this more real to the point that you asked. Why is it so difficult? Because inertia, it's gravity. It's like, it's hard to get out of bed. Well, get out of bed. How about going for a walk in the woods? It's hard. I know. Just go for 5 minutes. Well, what's the best exercise to do? The one you do. Well, what kind word should I say to my loved one? I don't know, but just say it. I told you I sent that thank you note. This is the second thank you note I've ever written. I'm talking about on my fancy stationery. I got a call yesterday saying, thank you so much for that beautiful note. Now, it went right back to me, and I know that it penetrated him because I took care to write 4 sentences that I really meant. I took the time. Well, why haven't I done that before? It takes work. It takes effort. You got to get into it. I'm not doing it every day, but I'll do a lot of practice of this work, which is self-compassion. Don't salt my own roots. Give myself credit. I ain't going to change it all, but damn, I'm better than I ever was. And I was a good person before,
It's so funny that you said that about like the thank yous. This just happened this week. I do not like having guests in the audience of our show, because it means there's an extra pressure. I want to meet them. I want to meet the hosts. I want to take a picture. I want to do this. There's a lot that goes on. And plus the fact that you have to do your job while you're trying to juggle that. And so I got a request from this woman that I've known for many, many years, but I'm not in touch with her every day. And I was kind of like irritated that she was coming and that I had to help her. And then once the day came, she and her friend were lovely. They were so gracious. I came through, like it was easy for me to come through, and I helped them out. And that when I got home, there was a gift for me waiting as a thank you. And I felt so bad that I had felt annoyed at their coming, which it was like, it meant everything to them to be there.
Yeah.
It was for this woman's 70th birthday. And it really turned me around. I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
I ended up being, I was perfectly nice. It meant nothing to me to introduce them to Kelly. They met Kelly. She was kicking herself that she didn't take pictures with her, but I took a couple of pictures while they were talking, and that they were so thankful for that. And it just, the whole thing turned around. Because it's just what you said,
What you just articulated is the kit and the caboodle. That's the whole story. And it started with the negativity, the blah, 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 blah. That's okay. You didn't get all trippy with yourself. You got to the end of that journey, and it's a beautiful story. And all you got to do is do more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing else to say. Well, it's hard. Of course it's hard. It's sometimes if you have a bad night's sleep and for whatever else, it's like, and they're not as nice as she was. And you know what I mean? So there's a lot of factors that would make it more difficult, but we know our job. Our job is to get better at that with no trip out ourselves. No, like I should be a lot better. And, no. You're victorious. And I'll take that as well done, girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think all of those little things, these simple things that you practice, they kind of build on each other, like you mentioned, James Clear, and habit stacking. And it's like doing those things, I think, and again, you don't have to do them 100% of the time, but I think just that little bit, and then how you feel after you've done something like that,
totally
makes you want to do it again and again, right?
Guys, let's spread this to the world. But I feel like this is the secret to life, right? Like it's James Clear stuff on top of social science, on top of what you both just said, which is everybody wins. You feel better, they feel better, the witness of the exchange feels better, and you said something wise, which is, you don't have to be perfect. You do the best you can in the way that you can, and you do, and then you stack it, and it becomes the flywheel of, oh my God, I can't wait to find another opportunity to be even more kind. And I love this insight. The screw ups are the best teacher. The next time you guys get impatient or get crusty or nasty or snarky or salty, you'll go, oh yeah, I know what to do. The next right thing.
The next right thing.
And that's the beauty of this work, which isn't, I'm really working at it. It takes a lot of work.
Right.
You have to do 16 hours. No, you don't.
No.
I know. I mean, one thing that I do, you know that I do this. Like if someone in a store or a hotel, I always ask someone's name. Because it makes them feel like they're not just like a number, and I thank them by name at the end. And I've been doing that for quite a while, and it makes me feel better too, and it makes it personal. Like everything's personal. We're people,
So this is what it means to be the sun. This is what heliotropic means. It's not formulaic. It's not like, well, they said we're supposed to ask everyone their name. No. If your genuine love for people and wanting them to feel seen makes you want to ask their name, and you do, and you listen for it, and then you address them by their name, that's what it means to be heliotropic.
Yeah.
And the definition is that they feel sun on their leaves. You did it with you don't need to sign up for a seminar. You don't even need to read the book. You look at the cover of the book and it's like, got it. That's all it's all we got to do. Oh yeah, I could ask her name.
Now, let me ask you this though, Harry.
Yes.
So just not to be contrarian, but
B.
what if, you don't get the response that you are expecting, hoping for, you put yourself out there and you do this kind of thing. And I'm not saying like you always need a pat on the back for the things, but if people are not only not acknowledging, but rude. How do you handle that?
I love your question. And the question is literally what everybody often gets confused about. It isn't about them. This has nothing to do with them. You're only doing it for you. If they are rude, for whatever, if they are just awful, I mean awful, you have a choice in that moment. I have a couple of tips. Walk away, take a deep breath, don't invite them back into your life. Remember, whoa, what just happened there? Did I create that? Or are they like that? Or maybe there's something going on in there. I don't know. But there's a lesson in that, and it ain't about them. Now, it might be that they're a no good Nick, a negatoid, a really toxic person for whatever reason, and you should keep the hell away. That's a possibility. But your job, you're not to be doing this so that others change or so that other people give you the juice of goodness. Well, I didn't get a thank you. I held the door and I got a snarl back. You know, a thank you would be nice. Excuse me, this isn't about that. There's a chapter in there, do it anyway. You know, people will be rude, be kind to them anyway. People will disappoint you, be kind to them anyway. It's a ripoff of a Mother Teresa quote, which is a longer version of it wasn't about them anyway. It was between you and God. My point is, the reason you do this work is for you.
Yeah. I like that.
And if you don't get it, you'll think it's about them. I heard somebody say, well, he's not very heliotropic. What, who are we to be judging?
I know, exactly.
You know, you're not very
Mom, he said
heliotropic.
this.
I don't know. Well, since I've read your book, I am starting to judge people for not being heliotropic.
I love it. Oh, God, man. Isn't that beautiful? Because that's the trap.
It really is. And this is
I
what I
know.
struggle
Yeah,
with.
'cause you don't know.
And these
Yeah.
things happen. Like everything you're talking about, I feel like we can give examples, everyone can,
know.
in their
Yeah.
everyday lives of situations and things. This morning, I was taking my dogs to Central Park and I had a green light to cross and the cyclist was coming, and not only did she barely stop, but she stopped and then made some kind of comment under her breath and like huffed and puffed and it takes everything I have not to turn around and say something.
Yeah.
You know, I know not to do that sort of in this climate right now that we're in, but I don't even want to have that feeling. I just want to be able to walk away and be like, well, she must be going through something because.
So this microcosm, that story is beautiful because that happens to all of us. And so, what do we do? I love the question. The question is, what do we do? First of all, you can't not feel upset, like wanting to say, I'm not going to swear, but you want to light her up. You want to rip her a new one. You want to let her have a piece of your mind. Now, that's normal. You ain't going to not feel that. But what do you do with that emotion? How do you tell a kid, bricks are not for throwing? Don't hit him. I know he upset you, sweetie, but, take a breath, walk away. How do you walk ourselves back from the edge?
Yeah.
I wanted to punch her in the nose, knock her off her bike, and just give her a piece of my mind. And that's a normal feeling.
Yeah.
But we know better, not to do it. But how do we metabolize that anger? When I say metabolize, I mean let it flow right through us and out of us and go, I'm proud of myself. What happened? It took me about, 3 minutes. I was done with her. Sometimes it can take 3 hours, 3 days, 3 months, 3 years, 3 decades. I don't want that, man. For myself, for you, when a bird shits on our head, how long before, man? Right? Or somebody cuts us off with rudeness.
Totally.
Or someone's a complete thief, a ripoff, nasty. Yeah. This reaction of ours is normal and healthy.
It's normal, but it's that shortening that amount of time that you are up here, right? I mean, Lori knows, like, I can ruminate on something and something could happen,
decades.
Well, definitely some things for decades, but like you said, like for weeks and months, and like having this like slight, this like 2-second interaction, and I'm carrying it with me through the whole week.
Yes, that happened to you. Remember when we were in Venice? Is that what you're
That's
thinking
100%.
of?
And guess what? I'm still thinking about it because I remember that story.
I love our laugh. The laughter is the way out of this. The fact, Lori, Jen, the fact that we can laugh about it, see it, have a lot of distance from it,
Yeah.
and rumination and self-criticism and the lack of self-compassion. It's like, I'm getting better at it. I sometimes will carry that shit for a week,
I mean,
I've walked by and I'm like, what are you talking about?
Forgets, well,
I
you also have a
forget
bad
it
memory. I have a
minute.
bad memory, but she forgets about it in 2 seconds. But
2 seconds.
She also helps to remind me, and makes me laugh at it. Then, like, you're still talking about that. I'm like, oh my god, I don't know why I am. But
So 2 things: the beauty of your friendship, the lovely beauty of your friendship, allows for that beautiful conversation. That's as good as any therapy. It's as good as any self-care where a brother or a sister or a dear friend can say, dude, would you get off of that? Would you get off of that, please? And with a lot of love and compassion, not with a little self-judgment, like, why are you so care? Just like, come on, man. And like, yeah, I know. I scratch that itch. I pick at that scab. I know I shouldn't, but okay, well, let me help you get off it. Right?
Dr. Cohen, was there any like defining moment or experience that led you to kind of focus on this idea of heliotropic as like the cornerstone of your work? Was there something in your life?
I can't think of an event per se,
Okay.
but I was always interested in the study and the science behind human behavior. Positive psychology specifically is the study of what goes well. If you look at a bell curve of humanity, the deviant on the far side of a magnificent, I want to study those so that we can get more of that. I want more of the magnificence in my life and other people's lives. So the science behind it attracted me. The fact that this one expression term captures so many virtuous behaviors, it's like, oh my God, I've found my purpose in life. Simon Sinek talks about start with, this is it. I don't have to go, there's nothing more I can dig into other than more ways to be heliotropic. It's not one. There's so many: being more curious, more generous, more compassionate, more patient. All of those virtues, grateful, gratitude has been studied forever, but that's not the only thing. I mean, I love them all. So the fact that I discovered this and then put it in the simple metaphor, be the sun, not the salt, I'm going to do this right up until I die. And so the discovery of it's like the village that discovers a wheel. I want to share it with every village. So that, I think, was the moment, but it applies for everything, including pain and suffering and difficulty. That's the most powerful for me, in that my life has been pretty blessed. And yet, last several years, I've had to, quote, deal with difficulty that other people would say, oh my God. And this philosophy has helped me in so many ways. So, wow, I can't find a reason to not do more articulating, sharing, helping to spread. There's nothing that disconfirms. It's like, oh, you're going down the wrong road there, buddy. No. The Maya Angelou quote, people will forget what you said or did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. Well, that's what this is.
Yeah.
It's how do we make people feel? Oh, and while I might be in pain, I don't need to be a pain. That's from the same quote. Man, oh man.
If you can practice those things in your everyday life, in your regular, normal, day-to-day, there's no trauma or anything happening, then when you do experience those tougher times, you're kind of prepared. You've sort of like built that foundation already, right?
That's exactly
I try to tell
right.
people that with like their healthy eating habits and things. And it's like, it's okay if you go to a birthday party and you have the cake. You've built this foundation. That's not going to derail you, But
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And your helpful tip to them is exactly that. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We're not talking about anything extreme. We're talking about the beauty of this stuff is that we already do it. So it's not like you need to be anybody else. And this is James Clear. If you do 60% magnificent, wonderful things, Great, go for 61. Well, that's not very many. There's 40 times it. So what? What if you're 90% magnificent? I'm into 91. I want 1%. I'm telling you, is there anything you need for me to do for you today is a 1% improve my life and my wife's life, right?
Yeah. It's a
And
great
and
one.
I'm looking for
Yeah.
more of that.
Yeah.
So you guys will you join me in the spreading of this
Yeah,
to the world?
I mean, we're
Hopefully
here.
we're doing it-
We're
we're doing
doing
it
it right
right
now.
Yeah, we'd
I
love
know.
to.
No, I mean, it's important lessons to learn. I mean, I mean, you're making me think very personally about a conversation I had with the family member yesterday where I did not enjoy it. And
Yeah.
without getting too specific. And, I realize I have to let go of the fact that this person is not,
Yeah.
it's just not.
That's right.
And I
That's
need
right.
to be.
That's
And
right.
so, in thinking back, I was just telling Jen about this before we came on and saying, like, I wish I could have said this and I wish I could have said that. And I didn't for some reasons, not the heliotropic reasons, but just other reasons. But they could also be heliotropic reasons. I mean, they could also
Yeah.
be like, I just need to let her do
Yeah.
her thing. And
Yeah.
then I just have to move on.
Yeah, kind of like you were
Yeah.
saying, like it's not about
Yeah,
it's not about them. It's
right.
about you.
No,
Right.
that's
It's how you
if you
deal with
remember
those
that,
things. Yeah.
if you remember that, you can process that. Like family members are very tough for all different reasons. And you look in the mirror, you talk with a friend, you talk to the therapist, you talk to yourself, and you go, could I have handled that better? Maybe. Is there anything I need to do now? Yeah. Well, like we're doing right now, I'm going to walk away. I'm going to let it be. I'm going to let that person be. I'm going to be myself. I might come back to it, maybe, maybe not. But I'm going to really focus on what it means for me to be heliotropic, to be my best self. What does that look like, Lori? I don't know. You do. And you do that as best you can and you live to fight another day. And I love that, really, with no judgment, no you shoulda, you coulda. Nah, 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 nah. Life is short. Let's do this one really well. You go to bed, you lay your head in your pillow, you say, you know what? I did okay today. I did okay today. Or maybe I did really good today. Okay. And you try your best tomorrow and with no heavy hand. And that is victory. Every one of us has got this. We got this.
Well,
So-
I like the part in the book, the chapter where you said, "Don't hang with cilantro." At
Well,
first,
I
I
was
was
just going
like,
to bring that up
oh,
because
yeah.
I'm one of the people that it tastes like soap.
"Yes, she can't have cilantro."
And you know that.
Yes, I related very much to that.
Yeah,
And you just know that is not something that I can eat. You just say that's something. And so some people are like cilantro for us in that I can't be with him. I just can't. I can't be with her. I can do it in very short periods of time, but I really I'm not going to get into the details, but family members in particular can be like cilantro for whatever. Like, no, it's just not heaven. Now you have to play politics with, well, what about Thanksgiving? What about Christmas? What about the holidays? What about the wedding? What about the whatnot? Okay, well, let's thread that needle. It'll be served. It'll be on the plate next to me. I don't have to eat it. Right. So, right. You know what I mean? Like we thread these needles of good and bad companies. Certain people are bad company. I'm not going to go spend time deliberately in their presence because they make me feel crappy. Don't judge them. Just check, please. You know what I mean?
yep.
Is there any situation, and you may think no, but is there any situation where it's okay to be the salt, where it's okay to be a little
Well, remember,
salty?
if we're defining the metaphor of salt as de-energizing another person, if you're in a fight, if you're in no good Nick, if you're like in a relationship where you need to make them feel bad because there's a reason that they need to feel bad. They did a horrible thing, and you can blast them to let them know they did a horrible thing. You could call the metaphor, I'm making them feel like crap. I want them to feel like crap. And here's why, and I feel just fine being the salt. But you'd have to have to have really good reasons to go through life wanting to make people feel that way. I mean, that maybe you have a job in which you have to do that, but I'm not sure what role you play in life where that's a professional responsibility. I want people, leaders in very tough circumstances, all humans, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, military, you name it, to bring out the best in people while setting standards and setting boundaries and correcting and reprimanding and all the rest. When you look at coaches on the sideline of a athletic performance, and it seems like they're ripping them a new one, you could take it apart and say, wow, he made him feel bad. Well, I think he probably wanted to make him feel bad very deliberately so that they don't do the stupid thing again and it's over. Listen, I want you to feel bad. I want you to feel my sting. You cost us the game and it was a boneheaded move. I want you to feel real bad. Not forever, but yet you're damn straight I want you to feel real bad for right now, and then let's move on. I mean, that would be a reason to say, yeah, I'm very deliberate about ripping someone a new one, for lack of another.
I love that.
I just want to talk a little bit about this intersection of science and psychology that you mentioned. Are there other sort of theories that align or diverge from this idea of heliotropic? Like, I know, broaden and build is like one of the positive right? So like how do they align or not align?
I don't have enough knowledge, wisdom, experience, academic, scholarly study to see where anything diverges from the truth of this, because it's grounded in not just one person's theory, but all of these theories of of how do you amplify that which is good and decrease that which is bad. There are different ways to get that done. So when I'm pouring through the literature, which I don't do a lot of, but I'll read an article to go, that's interesting. I'm going to be hopefully interviewing Ethan Cross, who does a lot of work with self-talk, positive self-talk. And there's probably some interesting things about, I just heard him on a podcast saying that swearing at you during a workout at yourself, Harry, you asshole, something where you swear at yourself can be motivating as an internal dialogue. Now that I find that interesting. Wow, it's not assaulting my own roots with negative self-talk. It's motivating me with a little, come on, you lazy sack. Yeah. That is fascinating to me because it sounds on the outside like, wow, you shouldn't talk to yourself like that. Well, turns out it's actually quite motivating. I'm not that interested in studying why incivility, disrespect, rudeness, discourtesy, unkindness, meanness is good.
Right.
Yeah. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Maybe there's other people who really want to study the power of sarcasm or something. So here's my view of sarcasm. When it lands in the way that it's intended, which is I'm being playful, awesome. When it lands, ouch, it sounded like you were being passive aggressive. No, I was just, did your watch break on the way over?
It's a super fine line. Yeah.
There is a fine line between playful ribbing. This is often how men express affection. They'll give a ball-busting comment or smack-talking comment, which I find particularly playful. Men will give me a shot, and I think it's fun and funny. Other people might find it like, whoa, a little salty there, buddy. So it is in the eye of the beholder, always. That, I grew up in a sarcastic family, and sometimes it is taken to the extreme, and it's not pleasant. Not fun to be around.
Oh, yeah. I've been in family situations where, and I grew up in a very sarcastic, everything was a joke between, my dad, his brothers, my cousin, everything was a joke. I mean, to this day, to a certain extent, still, but I still can remember a comment that was made, and I went in the bathroom and I cried. I cried.
Yeah.
And I know that they didn't mean it to be hurtful, but I took it's in the eye of the beholder. Sort of like you were saying, like that self-talk, that maybe that's motivating for someone to look in the mirror when they're working out and yell at themselves. But for other people, It's not.
No, no.
You know?
And I love understanding that. I love that this is not one size fits all. Here's the protocol. Here are the 16 steps that you must follow. No, this is be you, be your authentic best self. Remember, this is about being your best self, not somebody else's version of what it means to be heliotropic. And I can tell you that when I'm judgy, I ain't my best self. I know that. I have a very clear sense of when I'm being wonderful, but it's somewhat related to how I'm being perceived in the world. If I think I'm Mr. Wonderful and somebody says, "Yeah, Harry, not so much," I got to listen to that. I think I'm very clever and funny. Yeah, well, here's where I'm obnoxious. I tend to think I know a lot of stuff. That is gross to be around. You know,
I mean, you have the credentials to back yourself up. So
nanny,
you
nanny,
do.
nanny.
You do.
You know?
I'll believe what you say. You do know what you're talking about.
I do, but I know that I can be Mr. Know-It-All, and that is just gross to be around. Less seeker, and we're all in it together, and here's what I found, and more like, well, let me tell you, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. So when I was listening to your TED Talk, I had it on, and my boyfriend was sitting in the living room, and he was kind of listening, and it was very short. And he said, I said, "Oh, we're having him on the podcast." He goes, "Wow." He's like, not only like was what he was saying so interesting, but he's actually delivering it in a way where he's really likable. Like you feel like you connect with him. He wasn't even sitting in the room with me. He just was hearing your voice.
Well, I have to say, your voice is very soothing. I mean,
Thank you.
I feel like after listening to you, I'll follow you anywhere.
Yeah.
I love that.
You should do some guided meditations. You're not looking for followers.
You're looking for followers. We're here. We're here.
Careful. Sit with your both feet flat on the floor. Close your eyes.
Exactly right.
Take a long, slow, deep breath.
Yeah.
Truth is, many, many years ago, I used to teach meditation and
no wonder.
practiced deliberate meditation for obvious reasons. And I appreciate your kind words and what your boyfriend said. But one of the qualities that makes a person heliotropic is that we're drawn to him or her for whatever reason. And there's something about, authenticity, vulnerability, honesty. I really do want the best for others. I know that to be true. And if that comes through somehow in my tone or voice or whatnot, yes,
Definitely.
that's about the only thing that I know, which is I really do want the best for people. And man, if this can help, and I think it can, it's gotta land somewhere deep in our soul.
Yeah. Harry, were you always this way? Were you like a compassionate kid? Were you an empathetic child? I mean, how do you?
So I don't know, truth be told, because I was just thinking about myself 99.99% of the time. I don't. All I was a kid trying to, whatever the hell was in front of me at different ages. I Yeah, how do you
Okay.
how do you get an A in the class? How do you be like?
Right.
I don't know. I really don't know how I was perceived in various ages and stages of my life. Truthfully, I know I was a pretty happy kid. I know that I had no horrible traumas in my childhood, family or otherwise. I know that I was genuinely loved by both my parents. I think I probably just take that for granted. I had two parents who loved me. Now just stop for a second and say, seriously? Yeah. Okay. So I had a lot of love and support and not a lot of, I said, trauma. So I was a pretty happy kid. And I told you I went to Cornell and going to be a doctor because I wanted to be a healer. I remember talking to a psychology professor. This was vivid. I went and saw him and I said, it was one of those meetings, what do you want to do with your life? And I said, I don't really know. All I want to do is help people. And here's what he said. Well, most people who want to help people need help. what an asshole.
Yeah.
It was it was memorable in its salt on my roots. I said, what? He was awful. Now that didn't
Oh my
stop
God.
me at all. He had all kinds of issues. He was sleeping with one of the students in the class and all the rest. But he was a professor, tenured professor at Cornell. And it didn't stop me because all I want to do is help people. I always had that as my, thing. I don't know how I'm going to do it,
Right.
but
I thought
I
you were going to say that
found
he told you weren't going to make any money doing that. Because that's what I was always told. It's like, I want to help people. I want to help people, be healthy. You're like, well, there's not a lot of money in that. Okay.
Well, truth be told, you are right in that way.
Yeah.
And so I found a way eventually how to make money. My dad was a
Sure.
businessman, and he sort of looked at like, well, it's good. How are you going to make any money doing that? And I found a way to make money. But the goodness thing, I think I had a want to be a good person thing, want to help people thing, and I was always drawn to wisdom. Like I want to know. I want to be. Oh, I heard this recently, which is, you want to be elderly or an elder? I want to be an elder.
Elder. Yeah.
Okay, I want to be a wise sage, so that I can live a great life and help other people. Well, damn, that's pretty clear. And I've been a seeker of wisdom, the ancient scriptures wisdom from all traditions to the social science wisdom. Well, what do the wise people say? Because I want to follow, well, don't eat that. It'll poison you. Well, okay. Somebody figures out that something's bad for you, don't eat it. Okay. You know what I mean?
But you
And this
say
feels,
something like, you say that, and this, I'm kind of guilty of this. Like, it's not enough to just, it doesn't matter if you know it, you have to practice it. And that sounds like what you do.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah,
been a
yeah.
seeker, and you've
Right.
collected all this knowledge, but you actually apply it and practice it.
Yeah.
Whereas there are a lot
It's
of
very
people
rare.
that just, yes, absolutely. And it's hard to do. It's
Yeah.
hard to do that because there is so much out there, and you want to absorb it all and you want to apply it all, but you're doing it.
Well, thank you. That's my life's purpose, mission, focus, which is I write these morning emails based on the chapter for myself, and I start over and I do it again. I'm not doing it for anybody else. You should listen to the. You should do nothing. I got enough work to do. I got plenty of work to do. I'm telling you, I'm looking for more. How can I be a better person? Because I'm just figuring it out now at almost the age of 70. And it doesn't get old for me. It gets ever new. That old quote, you might be the only Bible someone reads today. If I'm not living this, I'm full of it. If someone doesn't experience me as heliotropic, then I'm just full of garbage. I'm just like, well, nothing I say matters. It ain't what I say, it's who I am
Who
and
you are and what
how
you
I
do.
show up in the world with every single person.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, doesn't that seem so obvious?
It
does.
does.
I mean, I have to say, like, a lot of what you say is obvious, but it's not. But it's because of that it's so hard. Like, does that make sense?
Yes. But let's
But like,
so
I
one
read
of,
your book and I'm thinking, like, I kind of know this. I do some of the things. I could do other things better. I don't do some of the things, but it certainly is thought provoking. I mean, if your purpose is to get you to think about your actions and your way in the world, you've accomplished that in spades.
Lori, I want you to more than think about it. I want you to be a
Do
better
it.
human being because of this work. Not just think about it and not just go, that's really interesting. I should do that more. The next time I see you, and I hope to see you for as long as we're alive, you go, you know what else I did this week, this morning, last week, blah, 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 whatever it is. And I'll go, yes. And I'll share you one of mine. We're on this journey together. We're both walking the path. And I don't want you to say, well, that was interesting. I want you to join me and say, hey, I heard another great one that I think we can use to help some more people. So it's not just something interesting. The mistake that people make is, yeah, I read the book. You miss the point. It ain't about reading the book. It's about practicing the book moment to moment, day by day. I told you just this year, I wrote it, I don't know how many years ago. Just this year, I started rereading every chapter, stroking my chin, going, how can I apply this today for me? And that's the cool part. I ain't done. And that's what I want for you, Lori. I want you to go, Oh, I had another victory. I had a tiny, 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 tiny atomic victory. What? I bit my tongue. Beautiful.
I didn't
I
say
didn't
that.
say
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't say. I got another one I'm doing. I do the dishes now that
Oh.
I didn't put in the dish in the sink. Now, you can laugh at me, but it's taken me this many years to do that without a lot of. "Well, I didn't do that. I'm just not." No, it's victory for me not to do
Yeah.
the.
Yeah.
I'm talking meant internally, let alone say
Sure.
it out
Say it out
loud,
loud.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
right?
the whole idea of like paying it forward, I think, is something that is huge. Like I can remember when I was a kid, my dad would we'd be driving. We lived in New Jersey, and we're driving down the Garden State Parkway, and this back when you like would throw coins into the. And my dad would, or you'd give a ticket for whatever it was. My dad would pay for the person behind him. And I just always remembered that. And the other day, I was taking laundry out. In my building, we have laundry on our floor, and I was going to switch my wash to the dryer, and I went in there, and somebody had put all my clothes in my basket, and my first instinct was, God damn it! What? No,
I
they
love this
put it
story.
in the dryer. They dried my clothes and then put them in the basket.
Wow.
And I'm like, I have to figure out a way to pay that forward. How do I do that?
Yeah.
To me, this is what we're talking about. It's
Yeah.
never ending because if you have the eyes to see that, the cool part of this conversation, not only did you see it, you then thought, oh, I got to find a way to pay it forward, which is fill in the pothole of the street you don't walk down. And the next time I see you, you're going to say, oh, remember that laundry story? Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what I did? No. And you're going to tell me. I would love, I have a son who lives in New York City. He's getting married at the end of the month. And when I'm in the city, if it works out, because I'm there a bunch, are you guys in the city or nearby?
In
We
the
are
city.
In the city.
Yeah. So let's have lunch, dinner, breakfast, or coffee if you guys can have, if you feel like it. And do not say, oh, shit, we got to do this because Harry asked us. No.
No, we want to.
say-
Are you
Love
kidding?
to.
You say,
If
you
we're
say,
acolytes now.
well, fine. But we'll share more stories. We'll say, oh, God, I got another good one. I got another good one. I got another good one. Because it's the storytelling that allows anyone listening to go, yeah, that's right. None of this is new. None of it. What's new is putting it in a frame that allows us to see that laundry basket and then go do something as a result of it and go, yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's
baby.
the kind of
And
person
have it
that
stack
you.
that son of a.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what you
the
wanna
kind of
be.
person you want to be.
That's what everyone
My
wants to
phrase
be.
used to always be, don't be the person who doesn't return their shopping cart at the grocery
Yeah.
store.
Oh, dude, not only do I return my shopping cart, how about this one? You see one lying over there, and you march over there, and you
Yep.
don't announce to the world, you don't tell
Right.
everybody, look what I'm doing. You just put it back, and you remember what we're doing here.
Right.
And that is what our gift to the world will be, because I'm going to be a better person. And you know what? I got plenty more to do, and so do you two. And that'll be great with no judgment and no scorekeeping and no, well, have you done enough? Screw that.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, I also
it's,
think, to your point, it's like, do it when no one's watching.
That's-
Do the
Do for
things
no
credit.
for no
No
credit.
credit.
You don't
that's
want
right.
to.
No credit. Don't announce to the world how generous you are. And very tempting. I do a lot of philanthropy stuff, and I can feel my own. I want to tell people. Now, that impulse to want to tell people what a do-gooder I am is gross, but it's human. And so I'm not going to judge myself. That's why I'm bringing it up. It's like, oh, look at you, buddy. You got to tell people that you do a lot. No, you don't. Just freaking do it.
Just do
That's
it.
Yeah.
really an opportunity for me because I already give. So the next level giving is shut up about it, Harry.
It's funny. My
You know.
father was a very, he passed away not that long ago, and he was a very philanthropic man. And he didn't talk about, like, we knew that he did those things. And
Right.
he was on boards, and he was always the person that people came to. And people knew he was philanthropic, but he really didn't toot his horn about it. But if you ask any of his 5 children, there's a couple of things that will always come first in our description, and one of the words is always going to be philanthropic about him. Like, he was
Beautiful.
he grew up very poor, and he paid it forward. He helped anyone, people that worked for him for not 5 years, not 10 years, 30 years. They didn't leave him because
Yeah.
he was
See,
that kind of man.
the
And
quality that
that's
he exuded
amazing.
was generosity.
Yes.
Generosity is one of the qualities that is heliotropic. Pure generosity is just wonderful to behold, but that's just one. As we're rattling them off, so is people who are grateful and kind and authentic and vulnerable and all these wonderful virtues. Who doesn't want to be more generous? So that story about your dad is so beautiful because it tells us, I want to be like that. I mean, wouldn't I do want to be like that. So great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Harry, don't stop talking about it and just do it, you know.
Yeah.
I have to say, her dad passed that trait down to her for sure. She's very one of the
Did
most
you hear
generous
that,
people.
Lori?
You're
Did you hear that?
Sorry, but she's one of the most generous people that I know.
Oh.
Anytime like her name comes up, someone will say she would do anything for you. Like she would, she's very generous.
Oh.
First of all,
Thank you.
Jen,
Just made me
add
cry.
good. Those are good tears. When
Yeah.
when Jen says that, which is beautiful, when Jen says that, which I give you huge credit for saying it, and it makes you feel like crying because you know how pure and authentic it is, add a girl to both of you for both saying it and you receiving it and feel really, really proud in a good way. You know, pride can be gross, but feel proud. You're doing good. It's showing up. That's what it means to be heliotropic. You're not being anybody but yourself. Where'd you learn it? You learned it from your dad and from a lot of other people. So we do have to teach and model this stuff for other people who don't know about it. But I make the presumption that most people know about these good virtues and we can tell them about them. And so that they can go, oh, yeah, I guess I do that laundry basket thing. Yeah, I do that sometimes. Good. That's awesome. Keep doing that. Keep doing it. Do it some more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've taken up a lot of your time,
Yes,
but
we
if,
have.
but maybe leave us, someone who is just starting on this heliotropic journey. I usually ask for like 3 things, but I feel like in your case, maybe just one is like the one thing that will kind of set you down a path on this journey to be a better person.
Well, every day, if people could do one kind deed, that would be just swell. But that ain't that's just the beginning. If you think about, I can say something or do something kind today to somebody. Now that's not too hard. No matter who you are, where you are, I want to make it easy, right? And there's no downside. So that's just for starters. But I'd say go pick up the book and buy 10 and give them to 10 friends.
Well, that too. Dr. Cohen, tell our listeners where they can find you.
And anything else that you want to
anything else
add
you wanna-
that
You
you
know,
didn't.
go to be the sun, not the salt.com, all one word, and follow us, subscribe to us, order a book, and give it away. And if that's too much, well, then just go look at the free videos and download a podcast. We're putting out podcasts once a week with really beautiful exemplars, people who, like your dad, there's a beautiful one we're going to share. It gets launched next week. Jill Martin from the Today Show is going to be on. We interviewed her last week. Oh my God, a beautiful exemplar. You know her story. And knowing Jill, it'll help a lot of people. So our podcasts are only designed to be uplifting. So we have little 10-minute summary chapters and we have interviews and you can buy a book. Our only mission is to spread this. So however you can, make it easy. Just make it easy. Just think, can I do a kind deed today? Then do that. And then lay your head in your pillow and say, I did some good today.
I love it.
Love that. That's a perfect way to end. Dr.
Yeah.
Harry Cohen, thank you so
Thank
much
you
for being
so
our guest
much.
today. We really appreciate it. All right. That was like so
Enlightening.
enlightening and calming and
Well, his voice is so calming.
so calming. Like,
I'm so relaxed now.
me too.
Yeah.
And what a lovely compliment you paid me. I mean,
well, it's true.
well, I know, but to be compared to my dad means a lot to me. So
Yeah,
Thank
well,
you.
I think that you are very generous, and it's was funny because I have to usually follow something up with a sarcastic comment
Yeah,
after I
I
say it,
know.
and I held it back.
You wanted
I held
to.
it back.
You
I
wanted to.
I did.
What
I
was it
did,
gonna
but I
be?
didn't. I don't know, but it would have been something. But I was like,
Would've.
not going to do it.
Well, that's part of our dynamic too. I think you and I are very sarcastic with each other.
Yeah.
I mean, and tease each other, because we know each other's faults so well.
We do. I don't have as many, but
Okay, is that so? Is that what you think? Do you? We're already breaking the sun rule.
we are. We're breaking the rule. We're breaking it. Sorry, Dr. Cohen. He was fantastic, though.
I know, what a nice way to live. And I do try. I don't know that I succeed so much, but I do try to remember that be kind, because you never know what's happened to someone in the day.
Yeah.
Like what
Absolutely.
they've had the worst day that they've ever had, and they're pissed at you, but they're really not.
But they're
pissed
not
at
really
you.
pissed at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So,
be the sun, not
Be
the
the
salt.
Sun, Not the Salt by Dr. Harry Cohen. And we should all be the sun. Be the sun. The sun is amazing. So that was a good one. I'm Lori Schulweis.
And I'm Jen Giamo.
And this was Everybody Talks.
For more information about our podcast, to learn more about us, and to catch up on all of our episodes, go to our website at everybodytalkspodcast.com.
Follow us on Instagram at Shuli, at Jen Giamo, and at Everybody Talks. And if you want to watch today's episode, go to our YouTube channel at Everybody Talks Podcast.
Join the Everybody Talks community by checking out our Patreon page, where you can become an exclusive member of our wellness group and be a part of the conversation.
And don't forget, if you like what you've heard, give us a 5-star rating, write a review, and tell a friend. We're for everybody and everybody. The Everybody Talks podcast is co-created, executive produced, and hosted by us, Lori Schulweis and Jen Giamo. Produced and edited by Station 16.
Our theme song music is written and performed by Jackie Ryle and Aaron Navisi, with additional support from our pups, Oliver, Milo, and Murray.
Talk to you next time.